There is a leviathan below that forges across the land. Its twists and turns carve through the landscape and weave through our nation's history. It is the Mississippi River. It connects east to west, the country to the city, and America to the world. To know it is to know the proud rhythm of our land and the nature of our wildlife. Life along the upper Mississippi dances to the rhythms of the river, a symphony conducted in the wild. On a stage with many players, its score begins gently, then builds to a crescendo. This is the opening act of a great journey down America's river. Our story begins at a lake. It sits in the land of 10,000 lakes, Minnesota. Just a face in the crowd, except for one thing. It is the birthplace of America's greatest river. The Chippewa named it Elk Lake, but the elk were hunted out long ago. Now it bears the name Itasca, Latin of sorts, for true head of the river. In the far northeast corner of the lake, its overflow forms a stream just 25 feet across. Barely a hint of what it will become. Whatever babbles over these rocks is instantly baptized anew. No longer Itasca. Now, the Mississippi River. It forges its way through the heart of America for 2,300 miles before it spills into the Gulf of Mexico. Along the way, it draws water from 31 states, draining more than 1 million square miles. Nowhere is Mississippi country more wild than here in Minnesota, where it begins. It winds north through wilderness at a leisurely 1.2 miles an hour, barely half the speed of a morning stroll. This watershed is where nature hums and buzzes. A mother moose brings her calves to the water for 2 reasons: safety and food. The river is an escape route from predators like wolves, and it provides a feast. Submerged water lilies help them pack on weight. Mom can eat up to 60 pounds a day. It's fall, and she's ready to mate again. Her bellows summon a bull from the cooler high ground. He's not the only one within earshot. The resident champ has a challenger. October is the rut. A fight is coming. In spring, their racks were nothing more than small, soft nubs, but antlers grow faster than any other mammalian bone. Now they are 40-pound battering rams. The bulls posture and size each other up. It's a last chance to back down, but neither takes it. A direct hit can blind, maim, even kill. This king's crown fits well. He'll keep his patch of the Mississippi watershed. The challenger moves on to try his luck farther downstream. The river soon turns east. Then, just 40 miles from Itasca, a new twist. Nature's engineers have been very busy. Two beavers prepare for winter. The couple must store enough food in their lodge to get them through 4 months of bitter cold. They have hungry mouths to feed. The 3 kits are 4 months old. They were weaned weeks ago. Now they eat the soft inner layer of bark. Their dam keeps the water high, which stops their entrance from freezing over. But it requires constant maintenance. The parents work 20 hours a day, all through the night. A beaver family will fell around 100 trees every fall, an annual race to build up their dam before winter. Early settlers came here to trap beavers by the thousand, driven by a lucrative fur trade. As recently as 1976, 500,000 beavers were killed in a single season. Most of those valuable pelts made their way to market, shipped south down the Mississippi River. Beavers are second only to humans in their ability to manipulate and change their environment. But soon, this young river will be a challenge to man and beast alike, a powerful force and frozen thick. "80 miles from Lake Itasca, the Mississippi River picks up volume and tempo as it carves through Minnesota. As fall grows old, the winds bite. Nights grow longer. Time is running out to store food and fatten up. A raccoon finds treasure in a riverside park, a fattening picnic of peanuts and leftovers. But he's not alone. A black bear's sense of smell is 10 times that of a dog's, and they'll eat just about anything. Nuts, bugs, berries, or meat. Their diverse diet is one of the keys to their success. The raccoon's windfall will do just fine. Easy come, easy go. The stolen stash helps add inches to their bellies. Every bite counts as they prepare for a deep sleep and an annual fast that may last as long as 7 months. "200 miles from Itasca, the river still flows east toward the Wisconsin border. Most nights through November, the temperature sinks below freezing. By the end of the month, even the days grow frigid. And then it comes. December hits hard. Native Americans hunkered down in Minnesota in winter hunting camps. They faced temperatures 50 degrees below zero with nothing more than deerskin clothing and wigwams made from ironwood saplings. Animals must also adapt. Those with wings can simply escape the cold, and they do so en masse. More than 325 bird species pass through here on their winter migration south. 60% of all North American birds. It's called the Mississippi Flyway. But the freeze comes fast in Minnesota. Some water birds must suddenly contend with ice. Above them, America's national bird, the bald eagle, rules the sky. When the ice surrounds the stragglers, deadly talons swoop down. All a duck can do is, well, duck. Juvenile eagles learn to hunt here. They go for the seasonal special, canvasback ducks, slightly chilled. It's winner takes all. And there's no escape from the Mississippi's #1 raptor. From where it began, the Mississippi has traveled north, then east for about 160 miles. Now, near Grand Rapids, Minnesota, the river finally turns south. The Mississippi is 100 feet wide here, yet by January, it can be entirely encased in ice. Some may venture across. Along its banks, the brutal cold and frigid winds weed out the weak. A harsh winter can fell 1 in 10 deer. It's an opportunity for scavengers and predators. When the wind blows right, wolves can smell death from over a mile away, and they can easily cover that distance within 10 minutes. Today, there are more than 400 wolf packs in Minnesota. Competition around the Mississippi is fierce. This pack has been hunting in the area for days without a kill. The carcass could feed them for a week, if they can reach it. They may be the top predators here, but one misstep through the ice could be their own death sentence. Caution is a virtue. So is valor. Success. Retrieving the prize is one thing. Keeping it is another. Everyone gets a share, but alphas always eat first. The inch-long canines tear flesh and sort out the hierarchy. There's a strict protocol for dining. Wolf populations in the upper Mississippi were nearly wiped out a century ago. Now their numbers grow, and they move further south each year. By midwinter, ice close to 2 feet thick weighs heavy on the river. When spring comes, it'll take a full month of warm weather to thaw. An early glimpse of sun entices a young black bear out of his den. The time for his deep winter sleep isn't over yet, but the eager 2-year-old can't help himself. He ventures out, hoping for a late winter snack. It's too soon. The snow is still too deep, not worth the trouble. Mom stirs to call him back to bed. Winter's song is not yet through. And some are ready for that. A long-tailed weasel still wears his winter coat. He catches the scent of fresh meat. A deer mouse. He's an ambush hunter and relies on the element of surprise. Too late. Blow the surprise, and you blow the meal. But not to worry. He keeps a food stash for when fresh meat is hard to find. Most weasels won't eat animals killed by others, so they store their own. With small prey like this rat, he'll eventually eat it all. Flesh, fur, bone, and tail. The melody of winter has played out along the river for 300 miles. Now spring brings a different tune, as new members of nature's orchestra come out to play. Each new day in March brings an additional 3 minutes of daylight. The Great Mississippi Melt begins. The thaw reveals a welcome surprise. Frozen food. A A few gizzard shad get trapped in the ice every year, but this time is special. An unusually fast freeze back in December caught thousands. Gulls fly in from the Great Lakes to enjoy the feast. It doesn't get any better for a scavenger. Except the gulls have entered someone else's domain. America's river belongs to the bald eagle. Trespassers, beware. Bald eagles stake their claim to the Mississippi River and its feast of defrosted fish. Gulls must yield to the more powerful raptors. The gorging continues throughout March, while the ice slowly releases its hold. A Mississippi, long gripped by ice, shakes loose the shackles of winter. It guzzles the snow melt and once again runs free and fast. Hundreds of millions of gallons of melted ice and snow surge through Minnesota in spring. The Beaver's Dam washes downstream with the flood. They must build again. Even the kits pitch in. The beavers are vulnerable without shelter, and at any sign of trouble, they splash an alarm to warn the family. Others are unfazed by the rising Mississippi and relish the spring surge. 450 miles from where it began, farms line the banks of the river. It's still in Minnesota, with almost 200 miles left to go. Just around the bend, the river reaches its first major city, Minneapolis. A complex system of locks and dams keeps the melting Mississippi in check. This is as close as the Mississippi ever gets to having a waterfall. As the river leaves the city, it gets a boost. The murky waters of the Minnesota River flow in from the west. Dakota Sioux Indians named it Minnesota, meaning cloudy water. On the eastern bank lies the city of St. Paul. But don't let this urban development fool you. The wild side of the Mississippi is not over yet. Just out of the Twin Cities, the Mississippi picks up the St. Croix River. And other tributaries begin pouring in. As it flows along the border with Wisconsin, the river quickly becomes the juggernaut that will ultimately drain 40% of the lower 48 states. For all the locks and dams, this watershed is still a force of nature. And nature clings to it for survival. Enormous sturgeon have inhabited the Mississippi River watershed for tens of thousands of years. These prehistoric fish are as mighty as the river that holds them. Sturgeon can grow more than 7 feet long, weigh more than 200 pounds, and the females can live for 150 years. Every spring, they surge upriver to spawn. When they can't swim any farther, they find calm water nearby. Females emit infrasonic mating calls, which attract a crowd of males. Then release hundreds of small round eggs. The males release their sperm and fertilize the Mississippi River's next generation of prehistoric giants. Creatures of all shapes and sizes rely on the Mississippi River. So do people. As it flows and grows, it becomes America's lifeline to the world. The river carries more than half of our grain exports to market. We ride it, shape it, and build bridges over it. It connects us to commerce and nature. The old I-90 bridge in Dresbach, southern Minnesota, has been home to as many as 4,000 little brown bats. The bridge's small covered crevices form a perfect roost and allow quick access to the insects swarming over the river. Now the bridge has to come down. But if the bats go, the insect population will rise. Bats eat half their body weight in bugs every night. That's 1,200 insects an hour per bat. The solution? Bat condos. State officials built the colony a new home with a riverside view. Bats aren't the only creatures on the Mississippi who feast at night. As the river winds through populated areas, it favors animals that use the cover of darkness. A northern water snake ventures out after a day spent sleeping. It's non-venomous, but fast. When the sun goes down, it heads into the river to hunt for its favorite food: fish. It can hold its breath for up to 90 minutes. And it's extremely patient. Its vice-like jaws tighten. And this night hunter has its fill.